In a previous video of mine, we have built up this flat bar gravel bike purely made up of AliExpress parts. But now you are wondering, does it even function well? Did anything break already? How does it ride? So, why don't you join me on a ride with this bike so I can tell you what went right, what went wrong, and how it actually performs.
Let's start with something a lot of you have asked in the comment section of the build video, and that is what size tires does this frame take? Currently I'm running Schwalbe G-Run all-round in 40mm, and if you take a look at the fork and the rear seat stays, you can see there is plenty of space for some bigger tires. So I reckon you can easily get away with 45mm and probably even 50mm if you really wanted to. So when it comes to tire clearance, this frame is perfect for gravel. But now let's answer your most pressing question, and that is, does it even function well? And yes, this bike functions very well, but not without some obstacles. I wanted to use this bike as a base to experiment on some AliExpress parts, and one of these parts was this little inner tube, a TPU ride race inner tube, and I really wanted to like them. They are small, relatively affordable and light, so kind of a great upgrade. However, the performance that I got out of them was less than ideal. Firstly, after about 200 kilometers, I got a slow leak in the front one and I had to exchange it for another one. And only about 300 kilometers after that, the second one also got a leak. So at that point, I just decided to go back to tubeless and not be bothered by those TPU inner tubes anymore. So definitely don't just believe the YouTube hype and do your own research. And definitely stay tuned, because at the end of this video, I will tell you the most important tip in order to research parts on AliExpress. The next thing that didn't go as expected was my fit on the bike. So as we have been going for a flat bar gravel bike setup here, and I didn't have any previous experience in that realm, I had to make a couple of adjustments when first setting up the bike. So the handlebars were a bit wider, which gave it a bit of a mountain bike sort of sluggish feel, and the stem was quite a bit shorter than the one I have right now, and that gave myself a very upright seating position, which kind of felt slow, kind of felt sluggish, and wasn't really the right fit for such a fast-paced, agile gravel bike. So when you want to build your own AliExpress gravel bike, definitely be sure what kind of fit you want on the bike and be a bit flexible when ordering the parts. Sometimes you do have to make some adjustments after the fact, as I had to do with the stem here. So definitely consider that for your budget. And if you have seen my AliExpress bottle cage comparison video, you will definitely have seen that I didn't really like the bottle cage that was on this bike. Before, I had the titanium, very thin, very light bottle cage that didn't really hold bottles that well, so there was no point on having it on here. And I exchanged it for ZTTO aluminum bottle cage that works much better. If you're interested in the full video, click here. But now you might ask yourself, has this bike build been a complete failure? But before we get to that, let's ride home, because the weather is getting worse and I'm freezing to death. So in order to understand whether this bike build has been a failure, listen to this. And what you can hear is that, well, you can't hear that much. And that is because this drivetrain is easily one of the best features of this gravel bike build. This is maybe the cheapest 12-speed drivetrain you can get from AliExpress. And it's also from a brand called ZTTO. It's maybe the best cycling brand on AliExpress. And I can only say the performance of this drivetrain has been absolutely phenomenal. This drivetrain came as a set with the derailleur, the chain, the cassette, as well as the shifter, of course. And the whole set came in at less than 80 euros. So who needs Shimano XT for almost 350 euros or so if you can get that kind of quality for that price? So definitely ZTTO and their drivetrains are a huge recommendation. And continuing on the positive aspects of this gravel bike build, despite the hiccups at the start, virtually all other parts exceeded my expectations. First of all, the grips here are super soft and comfortable, and I had the suspicion that they might move around, but they do not at all. They are super tight on here, they don't move an inch, and the comfort you get from these soft grips is very nice. What has also been working much better than expected is this
Riot 3D printed saddle. This has been so comfortable and the quality you get is actually astonishing. So for the weight of, I think it was around 180 grams for 35 euros, this is a great addition to your gravel bike as it gives you huge comfort on longer rides. The wheels are also notably very good. These are the ENT Drive First Edition from Elite Wheels. And as I've had these wheels for over a year on my road bike before putting it on my gravel bike here, I already knew the performance was going to be great and it didn't disappoint. And lastly, the frame, of course, the most important part of this gravel bike build. This steel frame has exceeded my expectation by a long shot. First of all, it is so beautiful. If you see the coloring, the speckles of reflective material in the paint, in the sun or in daylight, you can really see that the paint job is of great quality, much better than I expected for the roughly 420 euros I paid for this frame. In terms of manufacturing quality, I also have nothing to complain. The welds, as you can see, look really great, so I'm super happy with that. It really looks like a stellar steel frame. And in terms of ride quality, there's also nothing I can complain about. The frame does not feel like a wet noodle. It feels like any other modern steel frame that I've ridden so far. As you know, I have a Mason Resolution, which is a British steel frame that I've been riding for over a year now. And this frame on the road feels pretty much exactly like the other frame. The only difference being, of course, that this frame is only a fourth of the price. So all in all, I can say that this bike build has not been a mistake and has not been a failure. I'm super happy with how the bike turned out, despite a couple of mishaps like the ride race inner tubes, of course. But overall, the value for money you get on AliExpress with such a bike build is absolutely phenomenal. The whole bike, as it's here behind you with everything, cost about 1,300 euros. That includes shipping fees and import duties that you mostly have to pay for these parts. And for the weight of about 10 kilos for a steel gravel bike, I think there's nothing to complain about. I am always looking forward to riding this bike, and in the end, that is really what matters. And now let me answer your question. Well, how do you find great products on AliExpress? So in general, there are two things you should really consider. First of all, if you look for a product in your AliExpress search, do not sort the results by best match. Instead, look for most ordered items. That way, you don't just see these search results based on how good the companies are at search engine optimization, and instead, you see the products that people actually bought. Once you have found a product that interests you, make sure to look how long the shop has been running on AliExpress. Has the shop been running for years? Or was it just recently opened? Well, you definitely want to order from a shop that has a reputation, good reviews, and has been open for quite some time. I would say a minimum of 2 years. And while this is not a guarantee to find great products, it will most likely filter out the fake shops with bad products and maybe bad intentions. So go do some research and build yourself a bike. You will definitely not regret it. I definitely also don't regret this bike build. And in the meantime, feel free to subscribe here. Or if you're interested in more AliExpress videos, take a look here.